Get up on your feet and change what you see. We don't need no crowds, no picket signs, just follow me. Get up off your seat and change what you see. You don't need no signs, no marching shoes, just follow me. Change into the darkness. Don't be afraid what you see. Won't come out until we're righteous. Time to change up the beat. We've been dancing a red line. Anger's swelling in the streets. Make our strength and numbers increase. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean. Follow me down to DC. Follow me out of the madness. I am you and you are me. Lead us now away from the violence. Take the lid out of our feet. We've been sidelined bearing witness. Up your game, lace up your cleats. Change into the darkness. Don't be afraid what you see. Won't come out until we're righteous. Time to change up the beat. We've been dancing a red line. Anger's falling in the streets. Make our strength and numbers increase. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean. Get our change into the darkness. Don't be afraid what you see. Won't come out until we're righteous. Time to change up the beat. We've been dancing a red line. Anger's falling in the streets. Make our strength and numbers increase. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean. We say yes and we say no. Only way for me to get my freedom. We say when and we say how. Yes, it's time for us to break way clean.
Hello, I'm Tanya Gale, Executive Director of Green City Force. Welcome to our first ever virtual Thanksgiving celebration. Thanks for everybody for joining us tonight, and special thanks to our sponsors, Ted Maynard and Robin Dahlberg, Paul Weiss, the Cohen family, the Delaney Shepard family, Noor, and Tazo. So we have a lot of content for you tonight, so let's just get started. I'm really excited to introduce our amazing host tonight, Rasmia Kirmani-Frye.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Green City Force's Thanksgiving celebration, celebrating the past 10 years and really looking ahead to the next 10. I see things like 100,000 pounds of produce grown and distributed and 21 cohorts of amazing people, and it completely blows my mind. As Tanya said, my name is Rasmia Kirmani-Frye, or Raz, and I am so honored to be your host tonight. And here is my GCF story. So I spent almost 10 years in Brownsville, Brooklyn. I love Brownsville. There's a farm in Brownsville. And then I left and created the Fund for Public Housing while I worked at NYCHA, and really started partnering with GCF to innovate public housing and to center public housing residents, and now continuing to work on public housing transformation independently. I'm just so thrilled to continue our relationship. And I was invited to speak actually at Domingo Morales' cohort 10 graduation, and was so happy to be a David Prize finalist with him. And I'm thrilled to talk with him, now one of 5 David Prize winners, tonight later in the program. So here's how the evening will go. We have so much to share with you tonight, including recognition for the historic leadership and partnership of GCF. We will also highlight amazing champions and heroes of GCF and call on all of you to help launch us into our next decade. So our call to action is to support, invest in, and amplify the mission and vision of GCF. Join our peace army working towards a hashtag Future Green City. You will be invited, like I'm inviting you right now, to post on social media and in the chat box your vision of a future green city, and to text to donate. Listen, I would not be doing my job if I didn't say it again. You can text to donate. It is Giving Tuesday and the launch of a year-long campaign to raise $1 million for Green City Force. And right now, your donation will be matched up to $10,000 by GCF board members. And so far, we have raised $40,000. Thank you for joining us tonight and for sharing your time, talent, and treasures. So, and now I am so pleased to introduce NYCHA alum and former New York City councilman who headed the Public Housing Committee, Congressman-elect Ritchie Torres. And while he cannot be here in person, he has sent some comments to share. So let's take a listen.
The most important lesson my mother taught me was never forget where you come from. And I come from public housing. And I ran for Congress to fight for New York City public housing, which to me is the greatest safety net of affordable housing in the country. Tragically, public housing has been so savagely starved of funding at the federal level that it has $40 billion worth of capital needs. And so I'm going to Washington, D.C. to ensure that residents in public housing get their fair share of federal funding. That we not merely rebuild, but we reinvent public housing as the greenest city in America. Imagine public housing with urban farms, reskinning, rooftop gardens, electric heating systems. Public housing can become the gold standard of affordable and sustainable housing in the United States. And I want to be one of the members of Congress who's driving that vision forward. There's no organization for which I have a deeper love than Green City Force. You know, I'm a young person of color, born, bred, and battle-tested in public housing. And the mission of Green City Force is to cultivate the next generation of young leadership from public housing. The success of Green City Force in New York City provides a powerful example for the rest of the country to follow, right? We need more green city forces throughout America. We need to cultivate the next generation of young leaders who are leading the just transition from fossil fuels to a renewable future. And one of the extraordinary leaders who has come out of both public housing and Green City Force is Domingo Morales. His work is so impressive that it earned him a $200,000 grant. He's been a leader in urban farming and composting and in a whole range of sustainability initiatives. He represents the kind of ingenuity, the kind of resourcefulness that's going to build a cleaner environment for all of us. Domingo, I thank you for your leadership.
And now let's hear from Domingo.
Hey, how you doing? Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
How y'all doing? I'm excited to be talking with you today, Raz. I'm surprised we didn't connect sooner. You know, I really didn't find out about you until I won the David Prize. And you made that connection with my graduation. It's so amazing.
Amazing. And I think I'm supposed to be teeing up a 1-minute recorded video of you from the David Prize, and then you and I are going to talk. So let's watch that video, and then you and I will get in it.
Awesome.
I was born and raised in New York City, lived in every borough. I was in my mother's building in New York City Housing Authority, and I saw a flyer for a Green City Force. Green City Force was, an AmeriCorps program that reaches out to youth who actually live in New York City Housing Authority, and they invest in us and they give us transferable skills. Those first 7 months that I was in Green City Force, I went to a compost site. In the past, composting has been really centralized. There's a few community composting sites, but most of the composting that was happening was funded by the city, funded by the Department of Sanitation. And as soon as they lost funding, the compost sites just stopped. So I plan to actually build grassroots composting sites, grassroots educational spaces that can continue to thrive even when we're faced with a pandemic or a recession, because it's community driven. I want to show people that composting can be a beautiful thing.
So now, Domingo, you and I get to talk to each other, which we have certainly done before. But before we do, I want to remind our audience to get on social media and in the chat, what is your future green city? And to really take a moment to text to pledge. And so let's, check your chat, put that info in the chat, and some quick NYCHA facts just to help ground the conversation. There are about 178,000 units of public housing. And I noticed that I may not be on the video, and that is okay. I'm like the voice of Oz, you can hear me, and really the focus here is on Domingo, so just listen. NYCHA is the largest residential landlord in North America. If it were a city by itself, it would be larger than Miami, Las Vegas. There are close to 500,000 people who live in public housing in New York. But you tell New Yorkers that something is big, and it doesn't really mean anything, because like your pizza is big in New York. So hear this: 1 in 15 New Yorkers rely on NYCHA. So, okay, Domingo, let's get in it. I want to ask you about your start. How were you introduced to GCF and the environmental justice movement?
Honestly, in 2014, I was working a dead-end job. I was working in a restaurant. And I just got sick of doing all the work I was doing, working the crazy hours, and I was getting paid below minimum wage. So I spoke to my manager and I asked her for a raise, and she told me, hey, Domingo, minimum wage is going up in December. So I took that as like a smack in the face, and I felt like I was worth more. So I quit my job at the restaurant, and a couple months later, I was walking into my mother's building and I saw the flyer for Green City Force. And I thought, hey, let me apply to this. I saw the picture of young adults just like me in uniform, and that sort of made me want to apply because it just looked like a community. It looked like a team. So I applied, and I had no idea what I was getting into. I at first applied for the energy team and I ended up getting on the farm team. And I'm like, I don't want to be on the farm team. I don't want to farm. But like quickly after starting my work on a farm in Red Hook Houses Farm, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with farming, but actually composting is what really did it for me. It's the only form of recycling that you can start and finish on the same site. You know, you don't have to follow it from transfer station to transfer station to transfer station. So I love that. I love the workout and I love teaching people and working with volunteers. So I started working for the Brooklyn Botanic Garden 7 months into my Green City Forest program. And I ended up leaving Green City Forest like 3 months early because I got the job at one of the training sites that Green City Forest sent me to. So it was amazing. And I went from being like someone who was learning how to compost to being the person that taught other Green City Forest Corps members how to compost. So for those 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, that's what I was doing. I was working at the largest compost site in the United States that uses 100% renewable resources. And I was using that time to train other Corps members and sort of get a system in place of how to build a site, how to renovate a compost system. And that's sort of what led me here today, you know, that flyer in my mother's building of Green City Forest and that uniform just pulled me and I haven't turned back since.
I love that. I love that. And I want to ask because, you know, you're talking about 5 years, right, of like that really focused work. And so what made you then take this giant leap to start your own composting initiative? Like, what was that switch for you? If it was the flyer at your mother's house that like pulled you in, what was that like ignition that said, all right, I'm ready to do something on my own?
What it was like, this has always been an idea of mine. I've always wanted to kind of expand the perfection that is the Red Hook compost site. You know, David Buckle and several other people, thousands of people have put in a lot of work to make the Red Hook compost site as successful as it was. And I've always had this seed in the back of my mind of how can we recreate this? How can we bring this to underserved neighborhoods so the Corps members don't have to travel to Red Hook to get the training? They can get the training where they live, where they serve, and they can actually start to give the same training. So it was always an idea. And then I think Lisbeth and Jill from Red Hook Initiative nominated me for the David Prize. And when they nominated me, I'm like, hey, let me actually pick an idea, focus on that one idea, because I'm a scatterbrain. I have so many ideas and so many things that I want to improve. But when they nominated me, it encouraged me to kind of focus on one idea. And I started to formulate this, you know, compost power movement in my mind and on paper. And then I got laid off after COVID. And I'm like, I'm not going to wait to find out if I'm going to get this grant to start the work that I've been dreaming about. I'm just going to do it. So I started doing the work. I reached out to Green City Forest, asked them if they wanted to work with me and renovating their compost systems. And, you know, I just started doing the work. And then a couple of months later, I found out from the David Prize that I won. And I'm like, this is amazing. I can do even more. But what really made me do it was like COVID and being laid off. I had to like bring that grit that was instilled in me with Green City Forest and actually use it to push forward and create something to sustain myself, but also to continue to provide the underserved community with the training that I was giving in Red Hook.
And I mean, it may seem obvious based on everything that you've said and like your ingenuity and the affection and kind of fierce loyalty that you have for GCF. But I think it's an important question to ask and to keep coming back to, which is why did you choose to collaborate with GCF? Like, even as you took this kind of giant leap to start your own composting initiative, like, what is this continuous, like, I got to come back to my family, I got to come back to GCF? Like, why choose to collaborate with GCF?
It started for me, you know, 2015. I was just a young adult in New York City Housing Authority that really didn't know anything about sustainability. You know, I had skills, I had talent from previous jobs, but I really didn't have much to bring to Green City Force. That's how I felt when I was a core member. I'm like, I am learning from them. They're giving me, they're handing me the skills and the knowledge. And, you know, working 5 years in partnership with Green City Force and teaching core members, I just felt like I've made that transition in my life where it isn't just what can I learn from them, but it's how can I take the skills and the knowledge that I've acquired and bring it right back to home. You know, so Green City Force put in so much resources to get me to the point where I am today. You know, from that idea of, hey, maybe we should work with housing residents from ages 18 to 24. Just that idea, that miracle of somebody just thinking about us gave me the opportunity to be in a position to train people and to teach people and to bring a skill. So for me, working with Green City Force is just, it has to be done because they gave me the opportunity to learn the skills that I've had. And now it's time to bring it full circle and actually teach them what I've learned. So basically that each one teach one. They taught me that in my orientation, where if you learn something and, you know, somebody that's on your team or somebody that's in your circle wasn't there, then teach them that. So they sent me on my own path to learn things, to learn how to compost, to learn how to build sites, to learn how to be a consultant, an entrepreneur. Now I want to bring that back and, you know, firsthand approach with new core members that are coming through Green City Force and teaching them and just trying to raise Green City Force as I go, as I rise. I want to bring GCF up with me because, you know, I credit them for my success.
Yeah, and you should credit yourself too. I mean, yes, Green City Force for sure, but I think seeing you as an example, as somebody who had a belief, you know, like you said, it can take just being a flyer and getting involved and getting engaged and look at what that has led to. And so part of, I think, the future Green City is what you are creating. I think it's incredible. So Domingo, we're gonna move on in the program, but you will be back. And I am now going to, it is my really, really great pleasure to introduce my friend. We have had many, like very spirited conversation, and I wish I could hug you, but she's a friend, she's a force all by herself. Lisbeth Shepard, a founder of Green City Force. Lisbeth.
Thank you so much, Raz. And Domingo, I could just listen to you forever. So I'm wanting to check my comments and just have more of you. But here I am. In 2010, we graduated our pilot core from that initial team of 10 people based in Cypress Hills in Brooklyn. Green City Force has grown to exemplify a citywide core for climate and equity rooted in public housing. Our mission is to train young leaders to power a green and inclusive economy through service. Our pillars are service, training, sustainability, and justice. We value people, passion, and perseverance, and together we're building love, power, and equity. Tonight, we celebrate the collective effort that is Green City Force. First of all, the core members and alumni who are the heart of Green City Force, and the many alumni who continue to build with GCF as staff and allies. Each and every one of our staff who have brought the idea of Green City Force to life throughout the years, our staff families, the hundreds of service and program partners with whom we have built and learned, the resident leaders and volunteers, our partners in innovation, our employer partners, and our board members, old and new. We hold in our hearts those in our community whom we have lost, Lawrence, Crystal, David, Donnell. A shout out to my co-founders, Erica Simmons and Lucian Cohen, partners in this journey, to Matt and Tim, again to Domingo. My Echoing Green community, from Van Jones, who inspired Green City Force, to Brigitte, one of the newest fellows, with love to Ed and Cheryl here tonight. And finally, here's to Tanya, a powerhouse, taking our whole Green City Force community to the next level. On behalf of all of us, special thanks tonight to the funders and donors who have believed in us and to those who are investing in our next decade.
Thank you, Lisbeth, so much. Before I introduce our next extraordinary guest, I want to remind you, as is my duty, that this would be a great time to text to donate. And so now, though, another example of just incredible strength and excellence and creativity, Brigitte Vicenty, to say a few words.
GCF is the jelly to Inner City Green Team's peanut butter. From the beginning, we proposed that our partnership be mandatory in order for NYCHA residents to fully benefit from our initiative. Knowing what GCF does, it was no better fit, and it was not a question than for us to work together in order to get young folks environmentally engaged, build new paths in their lives, and affect other humans' lives in the work that they do in this organization. Once again, there is even a caste system when it comes to environmental justice. And once again, the joke is on those who believe that only the disenfranchised will suffer from climate change. I am Brigitte Vicenty. I'm a mother of 3 sons, a wife, and a lifelong resident in the New York City Housing Authority. I am a 2-time award-winning social entrepreneur, and I carry a legacy of community activism. Inner City Green Team is a nonprofit organization focused on poverty alleviation and community development. In 2011, I founded Inner City Green Team out of frustration to try to find an easy and convenient way for residents like myself to recycle. At that time, recycling in NYCHA was virtually non-existent, and there were no other options. Our mission is to protect the environment and transform the lives of NYCHA residents through recycling education, outreach, job training, and paid work that can lead to a lifetime of employment and civic engagement. To achieve this end, Inner City Green Team has been working to create an effective and sustainable recycling infrastructure at NYCHA with job creation and community revitalization at its core.
And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you a breath of fresh air and our new chair, Mr. Greg Russ.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having me at this 10-year celebration of Green City Force's services to NYCHA community and the city at large. By engaging our NYCHA youth and fostering their leadership skills, Green City Force provides a remarkable model for community activation at our developments. There are currently 6 NYCHA farms up to 2 acres in size around the city that were built by the Green City Force AmeriCorps members under the Farms at NYCHA program. For the past 8 seasons, these farms have highlighted the transformative power of sustainability, health and wellness, food security, and community connectedness. In addition to the farms, Green City Force has provided service to NYCHA in many other areas. They are a partner in the rooftop solar installations at Queensbridge houses. They are developing energy service learning programs at 11 developments where they are teaching our families how to adjust to the energy retrofits at those buildings. And they have helped provide energy efficiency, recycling, and composting support at our more than 300 developments across the city. Green City Force is also engaging in 15 other developments thanks to the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice and City Council. NYCHA has partnered with Green City Force since inception. It's great to see these talented young adults work with Green City Force, get into their training program, and we're so proud of the 500 alumni that have graduated to date. We support Green City Force, and we are expanding their work this year by providing them with a new contract for outreach related to NYCHA's sustainability agenda. This is a great opportunity, and NYCHA is really, really pleased to be part of it. We want to thank the young adults. We want to thank those that have helped create Green City Force. And I want to say this is a tremendous opportunity to learn energy responsible citizenship skills that not only help them become a contributor, but also could create career pathways, learning about sustainability, about options for food, and options related to technology that surely will power our future economies. Thank you so much for having me. And truly, Green City Force is a force to be reckoned with. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you so much, Chair Russ. And now we want to hear a bit from the new leadership at GCF. Tanya, who is wonderful, a dear friend, has been at GCF since 2014. And prior to that, she was at NYCHA for 2.5 years. And she sat down recently with fellow former NYCHA employee, now journalist for the New Yorker, Vinson Cunningham, to talk about GCF and what's ahead. So let's check them out.
Tanya, it's great to be here with you in your new role as Executive Director of Green City Force. I'm so excited. And I'm happy that we're here at Wagner Houses because we're friends because you were my boss at the New York City Housing Authority.
That was a long time ago.
And I want to know how you got from there to Green City Force and now into this role as Executive Director.
Well, I mean, it's kind of, we both had some really interesting journeys since 2012, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you've gone on to be an amazing journalist and professional artist, really. And I have basically spent my time at NYCHA as a platform to really understand what are the opportunities to really create impact on a larger scale for young people. And so after being at NYCHA, I got recruited by Green City Force, who was an employer partner. And GCF was one of the few places where, as a NYCHA employee, I really respected their authenticity and how they wanted to pursue connection to NYCHA young people and communities. And so Lisbeth recruited me, and I started in the role of director there of development, which I never thought I was going to do, because I was like, I'll come see you because I think you're great. But fast forward, here I am. And 6 years later, I'm the new executive director. So I'm really excited. I'm super motivated for what's ahead. I'm really happy to have the opportunity. I feel really grateful.
Wow. So what is it in your background, your life really, that made you get into this work, sort of service provision, service in general? How did you arrive at that as a life calling, really?
Well, it was definitely not a straight line. I took a lot of turns, and if there was an AmeriCorps program when I was in college, I'm pretty sure I would have pursued it, because growing up, I always had jobs that were around working with young people, trying to be helpful. My family is, different for service roles. People in my family have been social workers, firefighters, civil service people, and so I've always had a mindset of giving back and wanting to give back. And so before working at NYCHA, all my jobs were in human services, working with young people, working with career guidance. And after working at NYCHA and being exposed to the whole capacity of needs for supporting the success and vibrant lives of residents, those two combined led to this opportunity of Green City Force, which is a perfect mix of my background in working with young people, my background and commitment to providing economic opportunity through career coaching in other different roles I've had, and really being able to be a leader in supporting other leaders from NYCHA, which in itself is really, so critically valuable. The world needs to understand the valuable contributions of 1 in 15 New Yorkers from NYCHA and what that means. And we need to provide opportunities for them to have a platform for success.
Yeah. So you mentioned AmeriCorps, and I'd love for you to give us just a little bit of history. I know this is a big anniversary for Green City Force as well.
Yeah.
Just a bit of history about Green City Force's history, how it came into being, and what are the sort of changes in its mission and focus over time, and where do you think it's headed in the future?
Sure. Well, our co-founder and initial executive director, Lisbeth Shepard, is a social entrepreneur. And so she, in the early part of her career, went to France, began a national service program, which has now become a model for national service that started as a pilot idea. Then she went to the West Coast and worked with Van Jones, learning about the green collar economy and the need for environmental justice. And then she brought that work to New York City and identified NYCHA as a city within the city. So in 2009, when we were founded, the idea was take this idea of reimagining what can happen within the model of NYCHA and have it become something replicable across the world. So in a lot of ways, what we've been doing all along has been about what the future plan is. It's been about lifting up young people as leaders, looking at real problems, really being innovative and thoughtful about how they can be resolved, whether it be environmental, economic, racial, or a combined intersection of injustices, and really collaborate with city, state, national, and most importantly, local leaders and community members to design solutions that are systemic, that can actually break the cycle of poverty and really reimagine what the future of urban cities can look like in an equitable and just way. So that has been the past. I started with our 9th cohort. Now we're at cohort 21. It's super exciting. I can't believe like over 500 graduates who are doing amazing things like Domingo, who we're featuring today, and other phenomenal NYCHA leaders like Ritchie Torres, who's hopefully on his way to Congress. Like, it's just really inspiring to see what's possible, especially in 2020, in this like epic moment of horror in so many ways. It's also opportunity. So me being in this position of executive director is really a humbling call to action. Like, I mean, I've been working in, you know, the space of trying to provide justice in lots of different ways in my whole career. And now more than ever, it's critical that we all step up and we stand for what we believe in and fight for what we believe in. And part of that means, you know, using our voices, using the voices of the underserved, and really messaging what change needs to be, and like getting investment and collaboration and dedication to making sure that we're fighting for what the future needs to look like. So for GCF, practically that means we want to be in all of NYCHA. We would love to have opportunity to hit all the 50,000 young people who are there and have them have a platform for leadership and opportunity through our program. We want to partner with other workforce and green economy drivers through our green economy network partnerships with city and local organizations and other nonprofits. We want our young people to take their experience and go out to other parts of the world and replicate it and have that be a vision that started with their time with GCF. And then we want to grow. We want to partner nationally and globally. A couple of years ago, I was invited to come to Barcelona, actually, because in Barcelona, they had economic disparity, and they were really looking to GCF as a social innovation idea, and they asked us to come and talk about it. So like, again, if you think back to the 10 years ago when, or sorry, 20 years ago, really, when Lisbeth was in France and she was with 2 other people, they had an idea. And now there's thousands of people doing that vision of the idea. And that's, so to me, the future of GCF is, you know, BIPOC leadership, really at the forefront of messaging how change needs to happen, and then like getting to work and bringing everybody on board with us to make this vision a reality. So that's what I'm driving towards, and it's like a lot of work, but I can't do it without the community. And all our community stakeholders really make me feel excited about what's possible.
And speaking of that sort of national and global ambition, it does seem to me that like on those levels, whether it's local, whether it's national, the sort of twin drivers of your work, economic justice and environmental justice, nobody's ever, like, it's never been more visible than it is now today. These are things that people are talking about everywhere. Is that a new opportunity? Is that something that as a leader now you're thinking, I can hook into some of these things that people are talking about on these larger conversations?
Well, we have always messaged that this work is important, and we're very clear that there's so many leaders that for generations really have been doing this work. And we're new to the table from just 2009, but you look at like a Peggy Shepard from WEAC, you look at Van Jones from way back, so many others have come together into doing the work of what now is branded as the Green New Deal and other things, which we absolutely support. There's investment in Congress to broaden the scope of AmeriCorps funding. We want national service to be a vision for everyone, and there are lots of national partners that have been working towards that forever. So it is a moment. It's a moment where a whole community of organizations and entities have been plowing away at trying to move the movement forward. And now, more than ever in my lifetime, it's a global awareness. And so we absolutely want to leverage that. And we want to call everyone to action and say, okay, what are you going to do to contribute to making this a possible just world? And you see in real time, unfortunately, every day, racial, environmental, economic injustice on levels that are unspeakable and most affecting underserved BIPOC communities. When crisis strikes, frontline communities are the first to feel the pain of that. And everybody knows that. And so now it's a question of like, what are you gonna do to try to help address solutions? And so I'm very much about leveraging that and wanting everyone in our community to be that voice. And that's like mission critical for sure.
Well, I know you, nobody better to make that mission come true. Tanya, awesome to talk to you.
Ms. Vincent, I really am glad to have you as part of the GCF community.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You get me a sweatshirt and then I'll
talk about that. We'll talk about that. No problem.
Cool.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yes, thank you, Vincent. That was a great conversation, and it was a really good chat, and I'm really happy and proud for all that is ahead, and really thankful for the folks that have built this platform for me to move us forward. I've spent the past 9 years of my life grateful to be engaged with the NYCHA community, and Domingo and Brigitte and our core members and alumni and Ritchie and Ms. Johnson and John Lisbon and so many others, Kiko from Staten Island, they are NYCHA. And they're like incredibly inspiring leaders and like a future that's really critical, and we need them at the forefront of moving us forward. 2020, as we all know, has been a really challenging year of opportunity and difficulty, but I feel really inspired and grateful to be around so many people full of hope and passion and possibility. Audre Lorde said that without community, there's no liberation. And I feel that every day in GCF and in this space right now. And so now I would love for you all to hear from some other amazing people who are part of our community and movement.
Green City Force, it has been a pleasure partnering with you. When I was first approached about having a garden in Howard Houses, I was very apprehensive and agreed to visit Red Hook to see the garden there. After visiting the garden, I was still not sure, but eventually I agreed to having a garden at Howard Houses. I watched the process from beginning to end, and it has been a very good investment. The COHORTS who have been a part of Howard Houses, I offer them my great appreciation for all the work that they have put into the farm. The residents have been very pleased with the quality and the quantity of the produce that has been given to them. With that, I said thank you to everyone who has been a part of the garden.
Hi, my name is Daphne Rose Sanchez. I go by the pronoun she, her. I'm a proud fourth generation NYCHA resident stemming from Brooklyn, New York. I'm also the executive director of Kinetic Communities, New York City's first minority and women energy equity firm. I'm thrilled to spend tonight with all of you celebrating our community, our people, and the hard work Green City Force has done over the past years to elevate BIPOC leaders from within NYCHA through a powerful, green, and inclusive economy. As someone who still lives in NYCHA, I live in Cooper houses, my grandma lives in Taylor White's, my little cousins live in Red Hook houses. I know the fight is not only to show folks and our community, our people, our friends, and our family, and the next generation what exists outside of the four walls we live in. But it's a way for us to feel comfortable in our own skin, to help us shed away discomfort, the stereotypes that constantly hammer us, and the idea of being embarrassed about being born in a place people have told us to be ashamed of, a place that in reality we've had no control of to begin with. So I tell you all today, GCF alum, students, partners, and prospective attendees, they're wrong. Challenge those people. Prove to them that you are more than what they believe you to be. Utilize the strength of those around you, of your family, your friends, and your community. Seek support from organizations like Green City Force to help you disrupt the status quo of what your life should be. I'm excited to be with you all, and congratulations for the tremendous amount of work you've done. The fight is not over, and I'm happy to see Green City Force leading the charge in helping NYCHA residents, the next leaders of this city, the next leaders of the state, and I mean, heck, the next leaders of the entire country, and letting them take their rightful place of power. So please equip yourselves with the tools of the future and really utilize Green City Force and have them help you disrupt your status quo. Thank you, GCF. Thank you all who are celebrating this victory, and thank you for preparing to join hands with us in battle for the years to come.
I'm Gail Brewer, Manhattan Borough President, and I am a huge fan of Green City Force. I know it's the 10th anniversary. And here at Wagner Farm in East Harlem, I've been here many times during the summer when there is produce and excitement and families. And here we are today, Halloween 2020. And again, families, community, produce. And I want to thank Tanya Gale for her leadership as the executive director of Green City Force. But it's a very unique program. It's in 4 boroughs now, soon to be 5. And there is a real understanding of not just sustainable food, which is part of the program, but building leadership. And if there's one thing we need in this city is building leadership. Young people of color, we're talking all about this in the country. Green City Force has been doing it for a long time, and now it's really making a difference. So I talked to so many of the young people who have been in the program, who are on the program, future leaders. This is what we need more than anything else. So yes, we need to be healthy. We need to have the sustainable, but the fact that the sustainable is going with the leadership, that's what makes this program so unique and special and fabulous. And the fact that we're part of NYCHA. NYCHA needs all the help we can get. I'm a huge fan of the families at the New York City Housing Authority. But when you have that combination of so many partners, that's what makes NYCHA families able to be the leaders that they can be. So I'm here to say thank you. Congratulations on your 10th anniversary. And we look forward to 10 more. And I look forward to next summer when all of this is green and the beds are growing and we can get more fresh fruits and vegetables.
Green City Force matters because it is a program that provides an opportunity for young people to explore who they are and not be afraid, to be around other young people who will help nurture them into the adults that they're going to be. The changes that I've seen in these young people from the time they come in the program to the time they exit is almost miraculous. And the ability for them to now have the concerns for other human beings like if they were all family. This program needs to be replicated throughout the country. And I think that, you know, in the next 10 to 20 years, these are the kind of programs that's what's going to make this country what it's supposed to be, a country of caring, sharing, loving human beings. Green City Force is the best.
Pretty much the way everything is gonna go, we're just gonna see how things are flowing, and we're just gonna need to be as adaptable as possible today. That is our main word. Let's try to be as adaptable as possible so we can have a very successful event. Are we all gonna put in our 100% to make sure that these kids are having a decent event? Can we do that? Yeah. We could do that?
Yeah.
Let's do it, team.
For the people.
For the change. For the people.
For the change. For the people.
1, 2. Legacy. Let's disappear. Let's do it, y'all.
So before I introduce our next speaker, I don't know about all of you, but I was incredibly moved by certainly the interview with Tanya, and then just hearing from everyone. And if you've been looking at the chat, just the unbelievable kind of outpouring of love. I don't know what else to call it, but the outpouring of love and support, and the power of community, the power of communities of color, the power of NYCHA residents, the power of young people to transform through radical optimism, vision with a plan, is incredibly moving, and it is happening. It's not something that hasn't happened. It is happening and can happen more and more and more. Cohort 21, 22, 23, 24, the exceptional leaders and communities that are involved here. If you haven't been to a farm, I so encourage you to go. But it's just, it's incredibly moving, and it shows that the power of people and of the people and of communities, when communities have self-determination. It's unbelievable. So, except we can't believe it because it is happening. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Margaret Anadu, head of the Urban Investment Group at Goldman Sachs, and someone who has been such a champion for GCF. Margaret.
Hi. First of all, it's really very, very difficult to follow all that from the interview with Tanya to Domingo. But you know, when Elizabeth asks you to do something, I think, you know, a lot of us know you just say yes. So I'll give a little bit of the history of how I got involved with Green City Force. My husband actually introduced me to the organization. He came home one day and he said, I have a woman who you're gonna love to meet, and just, you know, he didn't really tell me much more. So I was like, okay, great. And, you know, I have breakfast with Elizabeth. I think this is probably 8 or 9 years ago at this point. And, you know, she told me about what she had done in Paris and what she was working on here. And I don't think I told her this at the time, but I remember feeling so inspired and overwhelmed. And there was a small part of me that felt a little jealous, because I grew up in, you know, a low-income community in Houston, and I couldn't have imagined what it would have been like to be a corps member and be a part of something that was not just about, you know, my own, you know, confidence and community, but to be part of a group that audaciously knew that they would, you know, could make the world a better place, a more sustainable place, and do it with nothing but their own, you know, ability and hands and skill and passion and time. And I remember just thinking in that breakfast, like, there's nothing I will not do for this organization. And I thought, just short of trying to like get her fired and taking her job, that maybe there's some other ways I could get engaged. And, you know, so over the years, I've been, you know, able to spend time with Elizabeth and try to make different connections with some of the other organizations I'm involved with. And my husband actually had, you know, the pleasure of spending a lot of time with the team and the corps members. And, you know, I think that there's something so special about putting the future and kind of the trajectory and, you know, the opportunity of communities in the hands of people who know it best and understand it best and have the capacity to sort of change the arc of what things can look like. And so I love this organization. Domingo, we've never met. I'm in love with you. Tanya, I'm so excited about the next, you know, 10, 20 years and your leadership. And so, you know, I think, you know, most people who are who are on this Zoom and a part of this Thanksgiving are probably already giving, to Green City Force in every way that they're capable or have capacity for. But, maybe in this moment, we all, reach in a little bit deeper and push a little harder. And so while my husband's not listening, we're going to commit another 5,000 this year. And I hope that others will join me in that as well. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak. Really appreciate it.
Margaret, another 5,000 while the husband is in the other room. I like it. Thank you, Margaret. And in all seriousness, I hope people too will continue to text a pledge to donate. And now let's hear from Green City Force Board Chair Stephen Birkenfeld. Stephen?
Thank you. And thank you, Roz. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Congressman Ritchie Torres. Thank you, Domingo. Lisbeth, thank you so much. You gave birth to all of this. Look what you've produced. Thank you, Brigitte, Greg Russ, Vincent, Daphne, Gail, and the rest of our video participants. And thank you, Margaret, too. And there was an extra bonus in there that we really appreciate. Collectively, you helped give everyone a great sense of both the macro and the micro, the individual impact of Green City Force. And then that's an impact over 10 years. And that is a great segue for me to do these Decade of Service Awards and honor some of the pillars of the organization. We're running just a few minutes over. It won't be much longer, but we do have 4 individuals and one organization we want to honor, and then a few final words. So if you all could just bear with us a little bit longer, we'll be wrapping up soon. So first, I'd like to recognize Matt Nimitz for exceptional service to Green City Force, leading the Green City Force Board from its founding in 2009, before official programming began, until 2019, serving as co-chair with Ed Cohn and Tim Bradley over the course of GCF's first decade. Matt's reputation in the public and private sectors and his experience and stature on the national and world stage help attract board members and resources to the organization, while his exceptional judgment and steady hand help guide and build the organization. Matt hosted nearly every board meeting during his tenure and was a regular at GCF graduations. A true sign of leadership, Matt set the tone for the board by doubling down when challenges arose. He exemplified GCF values of passion and perseverance. He was always ready to go above and beyond, even traveling to Albany and back by train in a blizzard to represent the organization. His leadership and dedication are the foundation upon which GCF is built. Next, the Cohn family, a family affair. We recognize the members of the Cohn family for their decade plus of service and generosity to GCF, from its earliest stages of emergence to the present. During his senior year in college in 2008 and 2009, Lucian Cohn spent his breaks working with Lisbeth, laying the groundwork for the organization, and joined as staff and co-founder alongside Erica Simmons after graduation. As a board member since 2014, Lucian has distinguished himself by actively serving on nearly every committee, and most recently and currently as GCF's treasurer. Ed Cohn was GCF's first funder, first board member, and lead champion of our early years. Board co-chair with Matt Nimitz until 2016, and a consistent and dependable friend and advisor to our leadership team ever since. Vicki Shaw has been a funder, counselor, and advocate for GCF since year one. Vicki has continuously helped to shine a light on GCF's core members and alumni, bringing them and GCF staff into spaces and relationships with leading environmental organizations, including Audubon Society and the Environmental Advocates of New York. Dylan Cohn, environmentalist, was an early believer and has been a constant enthusiast for GCF mission. We think of the Cohn family as integral with the GCF family, a relationship that has been absolutely critical to our success. Paul Weiss, law firm of Paul Weiss, we recognize them for representing and advising GCF regard to the many agreements and contracts required to bring GCF's program and impact to life for the benefit of NYCHA young adults and residents. Paul Weiss has served as GCF's pro bono counsel since 2010, with Ted Maynard leading in our first 6 years, Neil Goldman as an anchor throughout, and current partner spearheading the team, with distinguished service by Danielle Penhall. 17 people in all have been part of Paul Weiss GCF support, and we thank them all. One of GCF's organizational superpowers in our first decade has been our creativity in partnering with NYCHA to activate the NYCHA campus as a platform for service and training for young residents. Underpinning our many activities in NYCHA have been legal agreements governing how GCF course and staff access interact with NYCHA spaces and people. In addition to NYCHA, GCF has many other partnerships. Having the guidance and expertise of Paul Weiss has been essential in enabling us to build robust connections and agreements with confidence. And then finally, last but not least, I want to recognize Lawrence Harris. We recognize Lawrence Harris for exceptional service as a staff member, bringing the GCF program and mission to life. From day one, he joined as one of our first team leaders. Lawrence devoted himself to the success of Green City Force. He was a major influence on core members and on the spirit of the organization. He recruited a large number of the GCF members and was a beacon, a coach, a motivator, a role model to so many. Lawrence believed in the promise of an inclusive green economy and dedicated himself to making that vision a reality through his day-to-day work with GCF. He inspired everyone he met with his resilience and drive, and served as an ambassador for GCF in NYCHA, the green economy, and alumni communities. From day one with GCF, Lawrence infused his work with urgency and passion. No challenge was too great. He relished the action-packed nature, those are his words, of the work at GCF. New York City Cool Roofs was GCF's first major initiative, and Lawrence co-led the teams on the ground and on the rooftops in achieving GCF's goal of coating or cleaning over 1 million square feet, a major contribution towards reducing the heat island effect in our city. He was passionate about the roots of success, eco-literacy curriculum, and one of GCF's first certified roots instructors, training members in recognizing the challenges within the environment, solutions to those challenges, and how those solutions related to career opportunities. He led teams in piloting the award-winning Love Where You Live challenge and replicating this door-to-door energy efficiency education model in developments across NYCHA, helping NYCHA save energy and residents take part in behavior change to improve the quality of life in their homes and NYCHA communities. When GCF launched an in-house social enterprise to serve as a subcontractor on the historic NYCHA retrofit, the largest of its kind in the country, Lawrence joined the founding team, helping GCF reach over 40,000 units with energy efficiency upgrades while creating jobs for graduates. Beyond the social enterprise, he stayed in touch with alumni and cared about their well-being and success. In light of his dedication and accomplishments, fierce passion and commitment, GCF nominated him for, this is a mouthful, the New York City Employment Training Coalition Bonnie Potter Foundation Workforce Staff Award, a citywide award which he received in 2017. This Decade of Service Award is one of multiple ways we are recognizing Lawrence, and we're keeping his legacy alive. And I'm very pleased to announce that, this is breaking news, that we are going to institute the Lawrence Harris Memorial Scholarship. Lawrence was dedicated to his own education and to encouraging core members and alumni to pursue theirs. To encourage future generations while sustaining Lawrence's legacy with new cohorts, we create the Lawrence Harris Memorial Scholarship to be conferred at each cohort graduation. This will build upon and replace the Kiara Harris Peacemaker Award, which GCF created to honor Lawrence's beloved daughter. The first scholarship will be awarded on the occasion of Cohort 21's graduation to take place in March 21, coincidentally. Just final words about Lawrence. It's hard to think of any individual who personified GCF like Lawrence did. And just final words is that we will miss him enormously. With that, Roz, I think we have some videos of some of the honorees to play.
Okay. Amazing vision from Lisbeth, Erica, and Lucian. Success beyond our expectations. I remember the time I had lunch with Tanya when I helped persuade her to stay at Green City Force. She's changed the arc of Green City Force. Gratitude to Matt Nimitz and Tim Bradley as chairmen. Green City Force is a critical program in the time of racial justice and Black Lives Matter. Please support Green City Force.
Well, I'd like to, first of all, thank Green City Force for this recognition. It's always a pleasure to get an honor, and particularly from an organization that means so much to me. I'd like to thank Lisbeth, the founder and spirit behind the organization, and her worthy successor, Tanya Gale, and the board led by Steve Birkenfeld. But most of all, I'm excited about the core members. And let me just say a word about that. When we started this organization off, we weren't sure where it was going to end up, but we had an idea that the environment, the climate issues, the greening of America and the greening of New York were really important. We also had an idea that bringing young people, especially young people who didn't have all the advantages of many others, into the mainstream of work and civic life was going to be really important. As a New Yorker, actually a Brooklyn guy, I was born in Brooklyn. I went to Erasmus Hall High School, spent my whole youth in Brooklyn. It was also important to give back to Brooklyn and the other boroughs of New York. So this was an exciting experiment. And what makes me so happy and proud is that we've crossed the threshold of 10 years, and we've crossed the threshold of more than 500 core members. And when you think about it, that's a lot, because each core member is a representative to the community. Every day, that core member speaks out for Green City Force, speaks out for the greening of New York, speaks out for a better life for all New Yorkers. And over a lifetime of influence of family and friends and other young people and children, each core member has a multiplier effect in our society. So the greatest pleasure for me, having been involved with Green City Force for most of its life, was interacting with the core members from the days they arrived, got trained, start taking on responsibility, and then in many cases, leadership roles. So congratulations to everyone. Let's all gather together 10 years from now or sooner and see what other great contributions we can make. Thanks a lot.
Hi, my name is Neil Goldman, and I'm a partner of Paul Weiss. On behalf of the entire firm, we are thrilled to be a part of the Green City Force Thanksgiving celebration. Our firm began providing pro bono legal services to Green City Force over 10 years ago. Matt Nimitz had emailed my colleague, Ted Maynard, to ask whether we'd be interested in assisting. He ended his email saying, quote, "This would be fun for someone, plus a chance to contribute." And in hindsight, I think that really said it all. It's been a privilege for us to contribute to Green City Force's work, and we've had a lot of fun along the way. Congratulations to Lisbeth, Matt, and the whole team on a decade of accomplishments.
Thank you, Tanya. Just my final words before I turn it to you and we end up. I just want to say Green City Force is at the height of national and world priorities tied to environmental, economic, and racial justice, and to hopefully building back better. We have a ton of potential. We need your help to bring new people and resources into the GCF community so that we can grow and reach the over 50,000 young people who live in NYCHA. Our aspiration is to have a farm at every NYCHA development across the city. We want to have a positive impact on every NYCHA resident. Thank you to all of you who have believed in and supported our work for this past decade. And thank you in advance to all of you who will partner with us in the decade to come. And my final words is do more than belong in our GCF community, participate. Do more than care, help. Please take action by getting involved with us. Donate, volunteer, help spread the word to others, and join us on our journey towards a hashtag Future Green City. Thank you very much.
We have so much to say. We're coming to a close, guys. This has been an amazing milestone moment. Thank you all for being a part of this with us. It really means so much. I'm like truly filled with gratitude right now. Lisbeth, our founders, Raz, amazing, all our honorees, again, our sponsors for tonight, Ted Maynard and Robin Dahlberg, the Cohen family, the Shepard Delaney family, Noor and Tazo. It's been a tremendous night. And, you know, everything at GCF starts and ends with our core members. I think you hopefully, if nothing else, took that away tonight. So I want you all to like make a commitment to take action, donate, volunteer, get involved, spread the word about Green City Force, and bear with us for a few more moments because the best is yet to come. For the next few minutes, we want to take a moment to really acknowledge the amazing 10 years of investment and support and close it out with the voices of our amazing leaders, our core members and graduates. So thank you all so much and good night.
Get up on your feet and change what you see. We don't need no crowds, no picket signs, just follow me. Get up off your seat and change what you see. You don't need no signs, no marching shoes, just follow me. Change into the darkness. Don't be afraid what you see. Won't come out until we're righteous. Time to change up the beat. We've been dancing a red line. Anger swelling in the streets. Make our strength and know.
All right, guys, let's break off. When I say we get up, you guys say we get busy, and we're off to the races. 2 claps and we out. You guys ready? We get up! We get busy!
Hi, I'm Shantanese. I'm the service coordinator for Wagner Farm here in Harlem. I've been a service coordinator here for 2 years, but this is my 3rd Harvest Festival, and events like this is amazing. It gives people the opportunity who can't go upstate to the pumpkin patch to have it right here in their community. GCF for me created change, it created opportunity. I hope that, you know, it creates the same type of pathway for millions of other people as it did for me. When I first joined GCF as a core member, I was a part of cohort 12. I was 21. I just had my daughter. She was about 4 months. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but GCF set me on a career path that made me found something that was dearest to me and that I wanted to do and that I was proud of. And it helped me financially. It helped me open my mind to the environment that I was around. And I was unaware of our food system that we have in place. I was unaware of what the community didn't have and what things they needed and what we was able to provide for the community. So overall, it has been a great change. It has been my segue, my stepping stone to so many other things, and I can't wait to unravel all those things. So thank you.
My name is Juwan Ziegler, and I am an alumni from Cohort 14, as well as an EcoHub Fellow from Cohort 21. GCF to me is all about sustainability, both in health and wealth inside the Black communities. As you know, we are heavily inside a food desert, and what GCF does is basically try to eliminate that as much as we can. And I say health and wealth at the same time, because in Black communities, food isn't really easy to come by. I feel like the reason people should support GCF is because of the social impact it has on everybody else. I feel like we, as a cohort, we are very connected with the community, and we just want to provide for everybody, as well as make everything sustainable for everybody else, and making sure that everybody in the community gets what they need, as well as them not being afraid of taking what they need as well.
My name is Israel. I work with Green City Force. I got on this path. I was looking for something to do with my life, and I've found past work in community work, working with people, helping them out, making sure that they are empowered, that they know their rights, that they know their own strengths, and it just seemed to coalesce perfectly with what my life purpose is. What I feel we do for the community, what we bring to the table as people who work for the community, is we empower people to know how they're feeding their bodies, to know how they're being fed, to know how they're being manipulated by the government, or how things have been systemically placed. We educate people on what they're putting into their bodies and what's being placed around them strategically, and to go and find better resources for themselves, and give them their own resource here on the farm to get something healthy, to make sure that they're being fed right and properly, and to feel not just feel empowered, but to be empowered, to take an active stance and control over their life and over their body.
The motivation came from knowing that what I was doing was actually helping people in my community.
Right.
And I was actually learning real life skills.
I think the biggest thing is absolutely support. Just being able to support the core member through going through the training, because it is a big commitment for most kids, well, most young adults. 18 to 24, there's a lot of variables. You grow a lot through those different years, and especially having a mixed group of 18 to 24 young adults, the support is needed at different levels. So now, I think the support to bridge those age gaps, like just mentally develop differently, I think that's like a big thing.
Service to me means like, it's more than just going out there and giving a helping hand, right? It's like trying to feel and understand the ways of the community you're working in, right? And once you really connect with those unique people and those personalities and stuff, that's when you become part of the community. Like I wasn't raised in Mariners Harbor, right? But I'm considered part of the community because my contribution within the community. You know what I mean? When you're like helping others, that's kind of like the most fulfilling thing, because now you're passing on knowledge and things. All of these things I preach to my core members. You got to pass it on, pass your knowledge on. There's no reason to have the knowledge or retain the knowledge if you're not about to pass it on. So you need to build community, you need to engage, and you need to be open to be really learning from this, because why am I out here if I'm not open to learn from these?
How does it make you feel to have that role?
Feels like I'm serving a bigger purpose, making it like this is the most fulfilling occupation I've had.
Hi, I'm NYCHA. I'm a cohort member of cohort 21. I just started a few weeks ago, and I'm really enjoying myself. I decided to join, honestly, because I wasn't really doing much else. I had left school and I was looking for work, and GCF seemed like the perfect opportunity for me. I feel really honored that my community is willing to accept my service. Like before GCF, I didn't really go outside, I didn't really talk to my neighbors, and now I'm canvassing, doing outreach, and talking to everyone. It feels really good. I feel like my community seeing me, a member, someone who lives here and experiences the same things that they do, I feel like they're more willing and open for the improvements GCF is trying to promote. We're talking about going from a farm to an eco hub, which means we're expanding our sustainability and trying to promote healthy living. It feels really nice to grow your own food and just cook it yourself and eat it yourself and just experience literally the fruits of your labor. So just come down and come do what we're doing. You can just come walk in, we'll give you some vegetables, we'll give you something to do.